Hey, so I wear a lot of professional hats, but my main background is in outdoor education. I love helping people to interact with nature more, especially children and youth. And I had my mind kind of just going nuts this summer, learning more and more about the letters being sent home to parents asking for various kinds of shoes for their children. So whether schools, camp, child program, they were being asked to send their kids with indoor shoes, outdoor shoes, gym shoes, water shoes, boots, dress shoes. And then where I snapped was when I was talking with a mom and she said her child's daycare sent home a letter asking for nap shoes. What the flip are nap shoes? So that's what I was thinking to myself, and so I need to make this video. Here we go. I want to give you a little bit of information for your consideration, just so you can intentionally make choices about how shoes fit into your child's life and how you can set them up for success from the ground up. So if you take nothing else away from this video, this is the one thing I want you to remember. This and this, they're not so different from each other. If you were ever taught that this is good, this is bad, this is clean, this is dirty, this is more important, and this is less important, crumple all that up and throw it away, because both of these parts of your body are incredibly important and used, just to a huge degree throughout your life. If you take a look at the foot, all the different things that it's capable of. My foot has, a reasonable range of motion, but doesn't do all the things that it can do just because I don't have to. You want to see what the human foot can do? I want you to search around on YouTube for videos of people who have lost their hands or lost their arms, and so they're using their feet instead. Are you kidding me? There are people buttoning up their shirts, cutting vegetables, driving cars. There's so much that the human feet are capable of. So looking at the muscle structure, how many muscles are in there, what the range of motion is, how much strength there is to them, it's really cool what can be done. Then to go along with that, all those nerve endings, you get so much information when these body parts are in contact with the world. And it adds to our quality of life. If you think about, being able to tell if things are hot or cold, that can protect you from injury. If you are interacting with things that just make you happy because you're petting a cat, running your fingers through your child's hair, that's sense, it makes us happy. We learn so much, and we just are made happy for 10 billion different reasons, all because of touch. And so we have the ability to do that with both our hands and our feet. Well, then shoes come along and do this. Wait a minute, I wouldn't do this to my hand. No person in their right mind would do this to their hand. And yet we do it to our feet. Why do we do that? So a couple of things to take a look at here. If I were to do this to my hand, I lose my range of motion. All that stuff that I know my hand is capable of doesn't happen when it's locked into a solid structure like this. Also, total sensory deprivation. I am exposed only to, the basics here. The padding is kind of smooth. And taking a look at, it's a certain temperature, that's all I've got. It has some squish to it. Now, if I touch the grass, nothing. If I touch the wood, nothing. I pet a cat, nothing. Total sensory deprivation in here. So when do we lock people's bodies into place so they don't have full range of motion, and when do we take away their ability to sense things? Human beings use that as a torture technique. Well, that's not good. That's physical deprivation and sensory deprivation. It's intended to harm them physically and psychologically. Now, I don't want to fully equate wearing shoes with torture. However, I think it's important to note that it's actually not that far off, and that's a problem. When we put any body part into a solid structure and cause it to atrophy, we're losing out on quality of life. We're losing out on, all the things that our body is capable of. And then when we take away people's ability to sense and interact with their world, that can increase anxiety. It can lead to depression. We're messing around with somebody's mental health by taking away their ability to feel. And our hands and feet are two of our primary ways of doing that. So with that in mind, just how can you counteract the shoe madness that's happening? First of all, instead of going, well, there's indoor shoes, outdoor shoes, boots and dress shoes and this and water shoes and nap shoes, start thinking of a shoe as a tool. It is something that keeps you from harming yourself. And so if you come across a circumstance where, yes, I could be harmed by this, it is too hot, it is too sharp, there's broken glass on the ground, I don't want to walk on that in bare feet, then putting on a shoe is very wise. Now, if you want to have more shoes, then that becomes fashion, not function. Functionally, you really only need one pair of shoes, okay? And what kind of shoes would you be looking for? You would be looking for something that is quote unquote minimalist, is a good way of thinking of it. Minimal padding, minimal rubber, minimal material between the foot and the ground. You want the foot to actually be able to adjust to and feel the texture of the ground. Even better, like if you can feel some of the temperature, something that is just a thin layer of leather. There are so many brands of kids' shoes that are really just simple leather shoes. There's no rubber, no padding, no nothing, just leather. But they stopped making them in a certain size. Shoe companies, if you're watching this, could you please make those for the full range of shoes, shoe sizes all the way up to adult? Because if you make those, I will buy them. I want them. So with that in mind, those very minimalist shoes protect that just perfect amount from the temperature, from that glass, and then you're ready to rock and roll. If you are not around an area that has broken glass or that's super crazy hot, then you can just take those shoes off, because the right tool for the right job. I don't walk around with oven mitts on my hands all the time. Well, why would I do that? I'm only pulling hot things out of an oven from time to time. The rest of the time, whoop, they're off. Do the same thing with your shoes. So we're going to take our shoes off as much as possible. We're going to make sure that anytime we do wear shoes that it's as minimal as possible. And then from there, just, can you do me an extra favor? Get your kid onto as many natural surfaces as possible with their shoes off. A couple of great things are going to come from that. So one, you're going to watch their little muscles waking up. And so at first, it's actually going to look like things got worse. They might look like they've lost their balance. They're trying to run in a straight line and then they veer for a little bit. It's not a sign that your child is uncoordinated or that taking off their shoes was a bad idea and that they need orthotics, okay? That's not what it is. It's a sign that their muscles are going, oh, I have a job to do now, okay, and they're waking up and figuring out how to work together. They're strengthening their foundation from the feet up, and that takes a little bit of time. Give it a couple of weeks. But if you let a couple of weeks go by, you know, floors and cement, sidewalks don't count. You put them on sand, you put them on grass, on rocks, uneven surfaces. Then here are a couple of things that are also going to start happening. You're going to watch that they're going to start holding themselves differently. Reason for it, strong foundation helps with everything from there on up. You're going to see that they can experience lower levels of anxiety and lower levels of depression if your child experiences those. You're going to see that they'll have increased interest in interacting with their world. You got a kid that you can't get off the couch. You're the adult, so turn off the TV and also take these off, okay? Get them outside, take these off. Because as they start to experience, they're in sensory deprivation mode, as they start to actually experience their world and texture and temperature, it's just this fascinating thing that they start going, I like this, I want more, I want more, I want more. They get up, they start exploring more, walking more, running more. These are all amazing, wonderful things. On top of that, you might see that your child develops a more natural interest in running. If they were going, running's not my thing, I don't like it. Well, no kidding, because their foot couldn't do it. All these running techniques that we teach kids in track and field are to compensate for the fact that their foot can't work properly. You don't have to teach kids to run. They teach themselves. Toddlers teach themselves how to run, and if we don't put them in things that don't bend, okay, and that don't let their foot interact with their world, you watch, they will lean into it and they will go. Please stop telling your kid to stop running. If you also do that, let them run. It's amazing. It's inherently built into them. Don't make them stop now and then try to get them to do it again when they're a teen and an adult. It's awful. We're the ones training our kids to not run. So get the shoes off and let their bodies figure things out. Watch their inherent interest in exploring and let them go and do that. Because if you want a kid-friendly way to explain to your child, you know, why you're saying, you know, all those times I told you to put your shoes on, I'm actually saying it's okay. By the way, I'm taking this bag of shoes to the, you know, to the charity because you're not going to be wearing them anymore. If you want a real application that, you know, connects with them, show them Moana. Show them a culture where, oh my goodness, you know, shoes, what were shoes? You know, there are so many cultures around the globe. That's just, you know, one fantastically packaged cartoon presentation of it. So many cultures around the world that don't wear shoes on a regular basis. They walk on so many surfaces and they've developed, you know, these feet that are able to handle it. And then on top of that, because they have all that dexterity and strength, they can climb trees, they can climb the mast of a boat. Just so many amazing things that they can do with their bodies because they're not putting them into these wood blocks and causing sensory deprivation. So anyways, with all that, I could geek out on this for a very long time, but I don't want to ramble. So please do me a favor. If you have any thoughts or questions, share it in the comment section. If you found anything about this video helpful, then please be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe channel button is just down at the bottom of the screen there. And share the video with anybody that you know is responsible for making decisions about shoes for children, whether that is a parent, whether that's a teacher, a camp counselor, you name it. More adults who know and therefore can advocate on behalf of children, making sure that they have range of motion and that they're not deprived of physical motion and their senses. The more people who know, the better. So with that, I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you have a great day. All the best. Bye.